everyone, welcome to Lukman IAS. Today we are going to discuss medieval Indian history in this series of previous year question analysis of UPSC prelims examination. So now let us quickly see the topics that we are going to understand for the day. Today we are going to understand about these topics one by one. Okay, so we will look into the designation related keywords. Then we will understand about terminologies from the medieval Indian history. Then we will look into some of the foreign travelers account who have visited in India. And then we are going to look into important seaports in the Kakatiya kingdom. And at last we are going to look into the Mughal period related questions. And these topics are important from this particular section of the prelim syllabus that says History of India and Indian National Movement. Okay. So with this, now let us understand. Let us take the first question for the day. Okay. So let us read this question. This question says, in medieval India, the designations Mahattara and Pattakila were used for. They have given four options. One of the option is military officers. Second option is about village headmen. Third is specialist in Vedic rituals. And fourth is chiefs of craft guilds. Okay. So these were the designations that were used for village headmen, okay. And this particular designation, which is Mahattara, it was used in the northern part of India. And if we talk about Pattakila, it was used in the western part of India in the present day state of Gujarat, okay. This particular question was asked in the UPSC prelims examination of 2014. So correct answer for this question is option B, okay. Okay, so with this, now let us take the next question for the day, and this question was asked in the year of 2016 by UPSC, okay, 2016. Let us read this question. Banjaras during the medieval period of Indian history were generally, okay. So now they have given a terminology which is known as Banjara. Now they are asking like who were Banjaras? Were they agriculturists, were they warriors, or were they weavers or traders? You might have come across this particular terminology many a times. Banjaras were those people, okay, who were wanderers, and they were nomadic people. They used to move from one place to another, and at the same time they were involved in trading activities, okay. So trading was one of their main occupation, okay. So Banjaras were traders. So that's why correct answer for this question is option D. And with this, now let us take some more detail related to Banjaras. Let us understand some details with reference to Banjaras, okay. So, who were Banjaras? Banjaras were the wanderers, nomadic tribe found in different states in India, okay. So, they were found in the state of Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh and Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, means like they were found in many states in India. And they used to speak a language that had a dialect which is known as Gorboli dialect, okay. Their language had a Gorboli dialect, okay. The word Banjara is made up of two words, okay. One of the word is Vanaj, second word is Jara, okay. If you combine these words, we get Banjara, okay. Vanaj means trade, Jara means travel, okay. So they were vital for maintaining supply chains in villages, okay. Banjaras were vital in maintaining supply chain in villages, and they were involved in trading activities. So correct answer for this question is option D, okay. So with this, now let us take another question, okay. This particular question was asked in the year of 2018, okay. This question was asked in the year of 2018. Let us read this question. Which one of the following foreign travelers elaborately discussed about diamonds and diamond mines of India, okay. So in this question, what they have done, they have given names of four travelers. These travelers have visited India, and they are asking which of these travelers have elaborately discussed about diamonds and diamond mines in India, okay. So one of the option is Francois Bernier, next option is Jean-Baptiste Tavernier, third option is Jean de Thévenot, and fourth option is Abbé Barthélemy Caire, okay. So all of these travelers were French travelers, means they came from France, okay. These people came to India from France and they have visited in India. But who of them have discussed about diamonds and diamond mines? So correct answer for this question is option B. Okay, option B means Jean de Baptiste Tavernier was a traveler who has visited India, and he has elaborately discussed about diamonds and diamond mines in India. Apart from this, now we are going to look into details of all other foreign travelers. Okay, we are going to understand about other foreign travelers that are given in this particular question. Okay, so let us understand about these foreign travelers one by one. Okay. Okay, so let us understand about them. If we talk about the first traveler, which is Francois, okay, Francois Bernier. Who was Francois Bernier? Francois Bernier has visited in India, and he stayed in India for about 12 years, and he visited in Mughal Empire. Okay, so he stayed in Mughal Empire for a period of 12 years. He was a doctor, historian, and a political philosopher. Okay, so he was a physician of Dara Shikoh. Who was Dara Shikoh? Dara Shikoh was the eldest son of Shah Jahan. Okay, if we talk about the second traveler, which is Jean Baptiste Tavernier, and Jean Baptiste Tavernier was a person who has discussed elaborately about diamonds and diamond mines in India. He not only visited in India, but he has visited, some other countries as well. Okay, he has taken 6 big travels. Okay, and on that account he has written a book. Okay, he has written his account of 6 voyages. Okay, and this can be translated into English as the 6 voyages of John Baptista Tavernier. Okay, and if we talk about the third traveler, which is Jean de Thévenot. Okay, so Jean de Thévenot, like, he has visited India during the time period 1633 to 1667, and he came during Aurangzeb's reign. Okay, during the reign of Aurangzeb. And if we talk about the fourth traveler, which is Abbe Barthélemy Caire. Okay, so Abbe Barthélemy Caire, he has written an elaborate account of travelogue, and in his travelogue he has talked about the Sultanate of Bijapur and Golconda. He discussed in detail about Sultanate of Bijapur and Golconda. Okay, so that's all about this question. Now let us move to the next question for the day. Okay, so let us take this question. This question was asked in the year of 2017 by UPSC. Okay, let us read this question. Which one of the following was a very important seaport in Kakatiya Kingdom? Okay, now they are asking about one of the very important seaport in the Kakatiya Kingdom. Okay, they have given options: Kakinada, Mottupalli, then we have Machilipatnam, which is also known as Masulipatnam, then we have Nelluru. Okay, so correct answer for this question is Mottupalli. Okay, Mottupalli was one of the important seaport of Kakatiya Kingdom. Now let us discuss in detail, like, how we get the details about Mottupalli as a important seaport during the Kakatiya Kingdom. Okay, so let us discuss about it. When we talk about Kakatiya Kingdom or Kakatiya dynasty, okay, so this particular dynasty ruled in a region which is located in the present day Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. Okay, so they ruled in this particular region. They ruled from 12th to 14th century AD. Okay, from 12th to 14th century AD. And there was a traveler in India. His name is Marco Polo. Marco Polo has visited the Kakatiya Kingdom and recognized it as Kingdom of Muttufil. Okay, he has recognized this particular kingdom of Kakatiyas, as Mutfili. Okay, and why he has recognized? He has recognized after this particular name, which is Mottupalli, and Mottupalli was one of the most prosperous seaport in the Kakatiya Kingdom. Okay, so that's why correct answer for this question is option B. Okay, having understood this question, now let us take another question. This is the last question for the day. This question was asked by UPSC in the year of 2015. Okay, let us read this question. With reference to Mughal India, what is or are the differences between Jagirdar and Zamindar? Okay, so you might be knowing that during the period when Mughals were ruling in India, okay, so they used to have nobles in their office or in their court okay, and many of the nobles were very high ranking officials in their court, and at the same time there were low level officials also. Those low level officials, although they were not directly part of the Mughal court, but like they were, you know, assisting the Mughal court from the local places wherever they were located, okay. Some of them are, you know, Jagirdars and Zamindars. Now we are going to understand about these, you know, two posts. These are posts. Jagirdar is a post and Zamindar is a post. Means like these are ranks under the Mughal Empire. Okay, they have given two statements related to this, and they have asked which of these statements are correct. We have to identify the correct statement. Okay, let us read statement 1. It says Jagirdars were holders of land assignment in lieu of judicial and police duties. Okay, so first part of this particular statement is right. That says Jagirdars were holders of land assignment in lieu of judicial and police duties, whereas Zamindars were holders of revenue rights without obligation to perform any duty other than revenue collection. Okay, this part of the statement is incorrect. Why incorrect? Because Zamindars not only performed the revenue collection work, means like they used to perform revenue collection work, but apart from revenue collection, they were also providing some other services to the Mughal Empire. How? They were, you know, providing police and judicial services, and apart from this, they used to send the, the army to the Mughal Empire whenever required, okay, on a regular basis as well. So that's why statement 1 becomes incorrect, because first part of statement 1 is correct, but second part of statement 1 is incorrect. Okay, let us now read the second statement. It says land assignments to Jagirdars were hereditary and revenue rights to the Zamindars were not hereditary. This is incorrect. Okay, Zamindars used to have hereditary land rights. Why? Because Zamindars were those people who were, you know, holding the zameen, means like they used to have land and they used to rule in the local places. Okay, so that's why Zamindars used to have hereditary, you know, authority over the land. It simply means if there is a zamindar under him, like he has lot of land, so that particular right will be transferred to his, you know, son or his, you know, his next generation people. But this was not the case for the Jagirdars. Why? Because Jagirdars were frequently transferred from one place to another. They used to get lot of promotions, there used to be demotions as well. So that's why Jagirdars did not have hereditary rights over the land, but Zamindars used to have this right. Okay, so that's why statement 2 is also incorrect. So if both these statements are incorrect, correct answer for this question is option D, means neither 1 nor 2. Okay, so correct answer for this question is option D. Okay, so with this we have come to the end of today's discussion. I hope you liked the lecture. So if you need any help, you can reach us, you can contact our office, and that's all that I had to discuss for the day. Thank you so much everyone for attending this session. I hope you have a good day ahead.
Welcome to Luqman IAS, the Public Administration Foundation. Live online classes are as effective as offline classes. Study Public Administration optional under the guidance of S. Ansari, the one who has taken this optional to a new height. Since 2011, Luqman IAS students have maintained the records of securing the highest marks in this optional. Go through the course features of Public Administration Foundation for 2021. Live classes are similar to offline classes in terms of the concept building, the interaction and addressing of students' queries, and the dictation of notes. There will be elaborate discussions on concepts, theories and principles, linking them with contemporary and current developments. In the live classes, notes are properly dictated the way it is done in offline classes. In fact, it is one USP of S. Ansari sir's classes. Optional is like a religion. You have to study it with a discipline and dedication under a guru. Most students get good ranks due to ethics, essay and optional, for which one does not have a better choice than Luqman IAS. So, contact us today for more information. live online classes are as effective as offline classes. Ethics with S. Ansari remains the best ever choice. Do you know that ethics paper is the only paper in general studies that pays more with less efforts? One can easily secure 130 to 140 marks. Luqman IAS is a well-established name since 2014 for ethics paper. We offer 3 types of courses: Ethics Foundation course, Ethics Case Studies, and Ethics Test Series. Since 2015, Luqman IAS students have maintained the records of securing the highest marks in this paper. Ethics Foundation course is starting from 21st of June 2021. Classes will be for 4 days in a week from 11 AM to 1:30 PM. The course duration is of 60 days and the videos will be available for 75 days. There will be 43 classes, of which 35 classes will be focused on theory and concept building and 8 classes will be dedicated for case studies. There will be over 180 case studies and 3 tests. Since 4 months are left for prelims, one can easily finish the ethics paper before prelims itself, and it's a good opportunity. So why to wait? Contact us today for more information.